Okay, what have we got here? I did some time ago do a short video on what I called the down and dirty approach to making a V-slot, and that's this little piece, this little guy here, which gave me a fairly nice, adequate machined V-slot. But what we're trying to do here is try and generate a functional V-slot without the machining, which is not very easy, but this is an experiment just to see if we can get something adequate. I've got a piece of this is about 3/16 material, I think, slightly thicker, been trimmed down. So what we got is a piece that's about nominally ½ an inch wide. Try and get a groove down the middle, which I've started, and that's the difficult part, very much the difficult part. This, if I didn't already say, which I didn't, is to put in the tool post to take something round like a boring bar, just to give you a firm base to get it locked up. So what we did to start, I used a piece of spare scrap material, and I used, you won't be able to see that, well, let's do it this side, you get the general idea. I used that as a sort of fence, and then I used a small, which I put away, I think, a small triangle file to start to generate a groove. And as soon as I got something remotely straight with a little bit of depth, then again with great care and again using a fence, put a hacksaw in. Let's zoom back a bit now, we can so I used a hacksaw with the blade under max tension, and very carefully got a little bit more bite, a little bit more depth. And I say this is the hard part. What we're aiming for is to get this one. I've got two square files, one is coarser than the other, but in order to get a start for that you've got to get some depth. So I've just got a straightforward medium cut, one safe edge, one cutting edge, and we've just reached a stage at the moment where I suppose we're down about a 32nd. So we're going to try and use this just to, got to get the feel of it, stay in the groove. Very tedious, nothing easy about it. You just got to work at it, and then once we got a bit further we can transfer to the square file and finish up with something approximating a usable V-groove. Well, we're getting down far enough to get the square file in use. This is the coarser cut. Obviously the main thing here is to be able to stay in the groove, so I'll pull back to feel the groove location, and then a forward cut with some weight. It's very slow going, but with a square file you can you can eyeball the top of the file and therefore keep it pretty accurate for a 45-degree, well, 90-degree cut, 45-degree walls. So we just persevere, and the deeper the groove gets, the easier it is to follow. And we're getting there now. We've got a bit further to go. Bear in mind that if we're not using massive boring bars, which would probably go in another holder, if this is something like 1/4 inch, 3/8, the groove is only really necessary to give you a location, and the actual dimensions of this in terms of perfectly parallel with edges again is not overcritical. You can set that up in the tool post, make all the adjustments. So we'll go a bit further and see if we go far enough to be useful. Having got a bit further down, we're actually getting some progress here. Quite useful to put the hacksaw in and just take a little bit of a cut down the middle. Just very carefully, try not to slip out of the groove. The main reason being that the corner of the file is not going to cut as readily as the sides, so by using the hacksaw we just give it a little bit of depth, and then we get the side cuts to go a little bit further. So we'll go ahead and just add a little bit more from the hacksaw. It's not very much because we're taking a cut over a long distance. Try and keep level, but inevitably the centre of the groove won't be quite as deep as each end. So now we can go back to the square file, get that located. Now it's getting a little bit easier because the groove is bigger. This is not overly critical. I take my shirt off because I'm getting hot. It's hard work. So let's take a few more cuts. I've gone down about as far as I need to. Say if we're using this for small diameter pieces, might have a piece of drill rod in here which has been fabricated to give a boring bar cutting end. Now, being on the finer file, incidentally I meant to mention, whilst I was working on this, I keep flipping it 180 just to get a more constant, even effect on it. The ends haven't been finished, but there you are. That's something approximating a V. It's actually more like a slight U in some respects, because you don't get quite the absolute right angle cut in the bottom. But that's usable. Just something you can knock up from a piece of scrap. And as I said before, once you get the cut started, and that's the hard bit, the rest is just a little bit of elbow grease and perseverance. We could make this deeper. We could definitely make it deeper. But this is going to do for demonstration purposes, and you can imagine a piece of 1/4 inch drill rod or silver steel in there we'd manage quite nicely.